Some people say, they use Agile as an excuse to be lazy, right? Where they say, oh, we're Agile, so we don't have a plan. We're just going to figure out what to do next. And that's really not what agility means. In fact, they surveyed a bunch of C-level folks, and in this survey, they asked them, what's the most critical thing for your business? And they gave all these various characteristics. And 3 of the characteristics that they asked these people to rank were agility, flexibility, and responsiveness. Now, they expected that those would all be synonyms so that they would be ranked similarly, right? But responsiveness and flexibility were ranked very low, and agility was ranked extremely high. And so this kind of was perplexing to the people that had done this survey. And so they followed up with these leaders and said, well, what's the difference between responsiveness and flexibility and agility? And their response was that responsiveness and flexibility kind of feel like you're just flapping in the wind, like responding to the latest crisis. But agility, it has flexibility, but it's flexibility with purpose. You have a clear goal, you have something you're shooting for, and you're flexible in how you reach that goal. And so Agile is not about not being able to know anything. It's about saying, look, we know there's something here, and it's important, and we have a viable path to get there, and we're going to be flexible in how we reach that final goal.
That's right. I think that the core thing is the myth of if you're agile and you're iterating, that you have no ability to predict or plan. And as Peter said, some people use it as an excuse to be lazy, but my experience, and I think Peter's as well, is that once you're agile, you actually predict even better. The difference is, instead of saying, I'm going to, 10 months in advance, a year in advance, whatever, I'm going to deliver these features on this date with this quality, that's what's impossible to know. You're going to say, we're going to deliver something which delights customers, that meets the business needs on this date, or when these features are done, right? And so as you look at what the team is doing, you can actually predict very well what you're going to have on a certain date. You can say, well, we're going to have somewhere in this range of features based on what we're getting done each sprint or each iteration. Or for a given set of features, you could say, well, it's going to come between these dates, right? We'll probably have it somewhere in here. And so that's what you communicate a lot with your superiors in the company, your boss's boss, and on up the chain. What I think is interesting is that knowing those things before you start building, this is for something that's new, right? We don't know, but we're going to go, we want you to solve this new problem and launch this new product in a new area, and we want it by Christmas next year. That's what's not possible. Because until you've done the work before you've actually started, you don't know what you're going to build. And if you don't know what you're going to build, you don't know where you're going to go. But once you've started actually developing, then you're in a different situation. You know what your goal is. You know what your why is. You know what kinds of things, what problems you're trying to solve, and you're marching towards that. And so...
And I would just say that, using tools like a lean canvas, for example, helps you to paint the picture to say, we know that there are these customer segments out there, and they have these specific problems that are extremely painful, and we've validated those problems this way. And then we have this potential solution, and we've done some high-level discussions with the team, and they're fairly confident that we can deliver something about those solutions in this time frame. So you can still make, high-level projections, and you have some validated data that you've gotten using, some of these other processes before you start development. And you can absolutely say, at a high level, we're pretty confident that we can address these problems in some way. The difference, as Hart points out, is that we're not saying we're going to build this exact feature with these exact details, and the dialog box is going to look like this, and then when they click on that, it's going to go do this. That's way too much detail. And that's where the flexibility comes, to say, we know there's a problem here, we have a good idea about the solution, and we're going to test that solution and pivot until we get it right. One of my favorite quotes about this whole idea comes from Ed Catmull, who was at Pixar. And Ed Catmull says, look, everybody looks at these Pixar movies and they think, wow, those are awesome, beautiful works of art. And he says, when we start a movie, every one of our movies is an ugly baby.
Right.
And it's our job to turn that ugly baby into a beautiful, grown-up, mature, artistic human being. And it's the same thing, like all of our ideas start out as ugly babies, and it's our job to turn them into something cool.